Now, starting this broadcast with some news coming in, a Ukrainian television announced air raid alert after fresh Russian missile strikes today. Ukrainian government advisor said that today will be the hardest day of the siege, adding that Russian troops plan to use tanks to break through into Kyiv. But Kyiv is ready with anti-tank missiles supplied by foreign allies, and the Ukrainian army units are defending positions on four fronts despite being outnumbered. Deputy Ukrainian Defense Minister says that Russian forces may enter areas just outside of Kyiv today. Ukrainian President Zelensky hails Ukrainians for their heroism in face of Russian aggression. He also asks Eastern European NATO members for defense assistance, adding that Ukraine needs an anti-war coalition and that Russia has to be brought to the negotiating table. After weeks of failed diplomacy, Ukraine is now under full-fledged Russian attack, with tensions running high over the well-being and safety of Ukrainians living in the conflict-ridden country. The ground situation in the country continues to remain grim. Thousands of Ukrainians have started to flee the country over fears of attacks from Russian troops. Videos, photos on social media show lines of cars moving out of Kyiv to take refuge in neighboring European countries.
На Львів, я сам зі Львова. Настрій патріотичний, відвезу дітей і ми все одно переможемо. Україна переможе в будь-якому випадку.
United Nations has called on European countries to keep their borders open for those fleeing the violence. According to UN Refugee Agency, around 100,000 people have already fled their homes within Ukraine, while thousands more have taken shelter in neighboring countries of Poland and Hungary. Poland has said that it will open 9 reception centers along its 535-kilometer-long border with Ukraine. The reception centers will offer meals, medical care to refugees arriving in the country. A scheduled train from Kyiv in eastern Ukraine arrived on Thursday in Poland, carrying a few hundred passengers. According to border authorities, some 15,000 people have already crossed the border to Poland since the invasion.
We've actually been very lucky to get out of Ukraine with the second to last train that was coming here. We've spent last 16 hours using all of our luck coming here. Many of our friends will get refugee status, but we are fortunate enough to have our accommodation planned, and we are very happy that we have our friends in Poland that are ready to help our people.
Meanwhile, at the Luzanka border crossing, which connects Hungary with Ukraine, hundreds of cars waited in queue to cross the border. Hungarian authorities have said that they are sending troops to the border to deal with the refugee influx here. Sounds of sirens, missiles were heard all through the day in Ukrainian cities. Residents scrambled to take shelter in underground subway stations. 2 loud blasts were reported in central Kyiv earlier as well. Russian troops inch closer to the Ukrainian capital. Ukraine's army has accused Russia of firing in Kyiv's civilian areas with ballistic missiles. Meanwhile, in the neighboring city of Mariupol, houses were on fire, buildings were damaged. Russian troops launched extensive missile attacks across the region. Residents in a Donbas region, which is controlled by Russia-backed separatists, also reported a massive upsurge of air attacks Multiple buildings were destroyed. You can see the visuals on your screens right now. Dozens of lives lost here. Residents are now ramping up efforts to evacuate this region.
Ну, буквально через 3 минуты был второй прилет уже вот и прямо в цех. И поэтому люди, которые не успели просто укрыться здесь, пострадали.
Explosions were also heard in Ukraine's second largest city of Kyiv, where smoke was seen rising from buildings in the aftermath of the explosions.
بنستر علينا جدعان بنستر علينا
Russian forces also hit military installations across the country. This since yesterday. Putin called the invasion a special military operation, one that's needed for demilitarization of Ukraine. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.